Okay, so next lecture is by Professor Andrey from Kamika University Medical Center. And he's going to talk about AI for GYN cytology screening, revolutionizing today or tomorrow. Please welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for introduction, Professor Harmani. It's a great pleasure for me to speak here. Can you hear me well? From here, shall I do like this? I'm doing this way in Japan, always. Or I can
closer to the mic.
Well, maybe I can. All right. Yeah, that's better and easier. It's my first time in Vietnam, and thank you very much to organizers of the conference and of this particular session for inviting me, and it's an honor to share the stage with prominent experts in the field. Let me figure out how this is working. Okay, it does. And this funny tool with okay, I never used this before. All right. Just a very generic introductory slide about artificial intelligence, which refers to the simulation of the human mind in computer systems that are programmed to think like human. And basically, in the domain of AI, there are two major, let me practice this more. Okay. So we have two major subdomains, which are ML, machine learning, which basically by some people referred as a glorious statistic because it's based on the statistical principles. And I put some graphics here from internet, and you can get a sense of this job. And another one is a deep learning. It is also a technique which basically simulates how the process of thinking is going in the human brain. And AI is set to transform healthcare in general by providing more accurate diagnosis, more agile, cost-efficient, and standardized clinical workflows, more effective and personalized treatments, and taking over our own pathologies, time-consuming routine tasks. And pathology itself as a discipline and is a medical specialty is a perfect candidate to be strongly impacted by AI because we are the image-based specialty. In all the images, they are easily to be digitized, and you could see today from talk and even from the commercial presentation during the lunch break using scanners, and create a rich foundation to deal with those digital images and to mine the information to be digested by AI. And even I would say that AI applications based on machine learning, deep learning tools for image analysis, they already led to advent of a new field which we more commonly refer nowadays as a computational pathology. I made this summary maybe half a year ago, but I believe it's more or less the same. This is the status of AI in pathology in 2024. So we have a bunch of tools, actually multiple tools reported in publications, which were based in-house, but by your own research team or lab, and also commercial tools. And if you take a look at the market of the computational pathology, there are more than 50 vendors globally. There are more than 100 AI algorithms which are on sale. And many of them, they are cleared by IVD in Europe, and less number, but still quite a number. There are those cleared by FDA. And it's interesting that, we frequently say that pathology in the terms of digitization is following the way of the radiology, because no one used the word digital radiology, right? It's just radiology nowadays. So, and radiology market regarding AI tools is 10 times more. This is what we can expect in the upcoming decade to be the case of our discipline as well. Major tasks those commercial tools are dealing with is a cancer detection and also scoring of immunostains. Basically, two main organs, if just I have to choose only two, are breast and prostate. And AI is dealing with HE-based digital slides, HE stain, and also with immunostains, basically with Ki-67. And one of the tools we are using in our lab for more than 1 year, this is commercial tool dealing with prostate biopsies. And as Professor Parvati mentioned in his presentation, that for him as a GU pathologist, maybe it's not that huge, aid in the daily work. But for you and for our team at Commander Medical Center, where we are mainly general pathologists, and there are several residents coming each year who may not feel very confident with prostate biopsies and so on. This is a great tool, not only from diagnostic perspective, but it also saves time a lot. So this is what we are using on a daily basis. AI in cytology. I spent some time to go back to my previous reflections because I like to learn about research, publications, and what is going on with the impact factors of different journals. And I recall that there were several journals and turned to be for decades on the stage, which are just about an analysis of cytology. And basically it was like an analysis of the nuclear changes and measurements and nuclear cytoplasmic ratio. For almost half a century, there were journals just about that. And I would say that cytology has historically been a target for quantitative analysis due to the less complex tissue composition. You have clusters of the cells, you have a lot of empty space in between of the cells, so it's very easy, much more easier to measure and to manage those measurements if you are dealing with the cytology specimen compared to histopathology. At the same time, all of us know that if you ever try to scan cytology, that there are certain challenges, which I would say unique challenges related to cytology itself. Of course, we have challenges with the digital pathology and scanning as well. There are multiple, starting with the cost of the scanner itself. But there are so-called unique challenges of the digital cytology, which I summarize here. And definitely, number one of them is 3D structure, which is, as all of you dealing with FNA specifically, it has a diagnostic significance. So how to deal with 3D structure? We have certain technical solutions for them. I would call it like advanced scanning modes, which is a Z-stacking, and another one is called fusion mode. So we can venture in details if you have specific questions about that. And the scanning on 40x magnification is pretty slow. It could be up to 1 hour per direct smear while we try to do that in our lab to do those measurements. And sometimes for AI, it could be computing consuming, and it's also, regarding your storage archive, it could be taking a lot of space, and you need to have additional logistics to manage that. In addition, just to that small piece, which is like a 3D structure of cell clusters and cells, there are focus challenges in cytology. It's a difficult automated focusing in fixed smears. It's also a difficult challenge in focusing in the low cellularity specimens, for example, cystic fluid. And also you remember that with your cytotech text, you have those dotted marks on your glass slides, which also creates some confusion for the scanner during the process of digitizing. A couple of more, these are smears extending beyond the cover slip and scanning area. That's why if you want to do digital cytology, and this is our institutional experience as well, you need to switch your cytology workflow as much as possible to LPC, where you have a limited area, which can be covered by any scanner existing on the stage. And even on top of that, we have workflow challenges, such as navigating slides for screening. This is the first step, interpretation, and cytology by cytopathology. This is the last step. and handling slides with multiple stains, which is probably not that big issue because in histopathology we are also dealing with different stains, for example, immunostaining. And another one is rapid on-site evaluation, when you need to access really remotely your cases because it could be different office and you need some portable device which could be able to scan remotely. And just to summarize regarding this advanced scanning modes, maybe one takeaway message for you to remember that not every scanner is suitable for cytology. I just took a screenshot from, I would say this is a major paper led by a group of Anil Pravani, which were published quite years ago, but I still all the brands there on the stage. And some of those companies, they explicitly say in the manual, for example, Philips UFS scanner is one of the common scanners on the market. They say, please don't slide cytology. Don't scan cytology. This scanner is not for cytology. But many of them, they are able to do Z-stacking. Many of them, they are able to do fusion. And I already heard about some vendors here. And actually, I think what we saw today during the lunch break, there was also a couple of pictures with a scanning of the cervical cytology. Study which we conducted, the survey conducted a couple of years ago when we were specifically focused on Europe and Asia, because what is going on in America is very well known and reported in publications, in multiple conferences, but we frequently overlook what is going on our own ground in Asia and also in Europe as well. So we approached to more than 70 laboratories who were, say, the pioneers of digital pathology in their respective regions and countries, and addressed them multiple questions about how they allocate funds, how they do transition to digital, do they need to improve the work of technicians, and so on. I would definitely recommend you to take a look at this publication, especially if you want to start digitizing of your own lab. But what is relevant to the talk today is that, and I think this is an obvious for you to understand, given all the limitations shown at the previous slide, the digitization of cytology is very, very delayed or limited. And even in those laboratories who invested in digital pathology, who are pioneers, and admins in those laboratories in the hospitals, they have a sense of digital way of digital healthcare. They had money, but they didn't not able to do digitizing of cytology. Less than 10%. And this year I saw the survey of the American Society of Cytopathology, which has been done on a scale with hundreds of laboratories involved. And I was very much surprised to see that cytology is digitized in almost 50% of laboratories in Asia. And I'm thinking, wow, how possible? Who are those laboratories in Asia who are digitizing cytology on this scale? But when I started to read details, it started to be that major uses were for education. So you could scan one slide or a couple of representative slides of cytology to use for your reference and to say, yes, we are digitizing cytology. But when I went to the breakdown of results, the number of labs using cytology for diagnosis was definitely less than 10%, even in the study which went 5 years after our study. So we are basically there. And once again, this is repeating to what I just mentioned about the survey by the American Society of Cytopathology, which showed the high level of digitizing and using for cytology, histopathology. This is a kind of survey we done by the Asian Society of Digital Pathology, and we tried to figure out the baseline numbers about the digitization of pathology labs on the continental level, and it doesn't look bad. You see that many countries, they have access to scanners, and even in some countries, they are quite advanced, like large countries, China, or very small countries, like countries of the Middle East, they have access to scanners. But when I rephrase the question and ask, okay, this is scanners in your lab, but do you use for diagnostic work? Then the number is dropping dramatically. Maybe 5, you need to divide by 5 or even 10 to figure out how many of them use it for diagnosis. And use for cytology is very, very limited. Just to give you a sense about what is going on. AI in cytology, it's rapidly developing in China nowadays, especially cervical cytology screening. And there are certain reasons behind it. And I would say that here, it's a high volume because of the screening programs on the national level. We have standardized preparation, which is definitely facilitating the process of digitization. And squamous epithelium itself, it's flat by definition. You're not always necessarily to do advanced scanning to get the Z-staking structure and so on. And this most interesting takeaway is provided by by commercial company who is a vendor of the scanners in China. And they shared information about how the Chinese pathology market is looking. And I was very much surprised. I cannot confirm from my end, but at least I can report to the company that almost 3/4 of the market is about cytology. And all the money are in cytology. Even histopathology, even molecular, they are taking so small pieces of the pie. Very surprising. That's why they have a lot of solutions for the digitizing and also for AI tools in cervical cytology. And this is video which came from another Chinese company, also, manufacturing scanners and having on top AI solutions. And they're working on the unbelievable scale. We visited their lab like a year ago, and they're running, on the provincial level laboratory, they're running like 10,000 cases per day. This is huge, and this is just a province. And if you upscale this to the level of the country, you can get the answer why it is rapidly developing in China nowadays. Another kind of introductory message to you, this is one more survey. I feel like I'm addicted to surveys, not missing any single one of them. I was participating also several years ago with other experts from different countries when we addressed the questions like, what is going to happen? Because all the people involved, starting from Yale to Stanford, Karolinska to Harvard and so on, so key opinion leaders, who were engaged in the using digital pathology and AI tools and in developing those tools, but basically pathologists. And they were asked the question, what is going to be with computational pathology in 10 years ahead? Let's say by 2030. And some predictions were very, very interesting. I would definitely recommend you to take a look at this publication, which went out in biomedicine. And you can learn many things which you can never imagine. That these can disrupt the work of pathology laboratory so much. This is probably too bright predictions, but one of the interesting topics was, based on this Delphi survey, it was predicted that multiple tasks in the pathology lab would be fully outsourced to AI by 2030. And the least of those tasks is so expensive. I think more than 50, if not approaching 100 items. And regarding the fully outsources to AI in pathology labs, there are several different, like diagnostic categories or whatever we call it. And on top, with the very likely rating, was a cervical cytology screening, along with the screening lymph node for metastasis, screening of colorectal polyps, likely grading of breast cancer, grading of colorectal cancer, but definitely cervical cytology here occupied the first place. And it is expected. Well, one thing I need to make clear, because I used to summarize those results of the Delphi survey previously also in the lectures, and I realized that when we are saying about the fully outsourcing certain tasks to AI in pathology lab, I definitely should have a digitized pathology lab. We cannot predict that all the labs will be fully digitized by 2030, given the map which I've shown you what is going on in Asia, and Africa it's even worse. And Latin America, I believe they're also doing not so good as Asia. But in fully digitized labs, it is a very high chance that many tests in the next 5-10 years will be outsourced to AI. And then we will have pathologists sitting with AI once again. I think you learned this message from talks today, that these two guys, they are not going to compete. They are just complementing each other. And finally, it's going to be just a pathologist, or you are, who is legally responsible for that. Getting back to the actual title and topic of this presentation. So here is the summary of commercially available AI-based cervical cytology screening software. And as you see, there is a bunch of solutions on the market. This is what you can purchase, or what you can test, or what you can ask vendor to bring to your lab or to bring to your country. They are from different countries. Of course, since these are AI-based tools, they are on the stage like about less than 10 years for sure. But you know, the deep learning project started to be on the stage from 2016 or 2015. They're represented by vendors coming from different locations. For example, if you are based in Vietnam, which is Asia, right, Southeast Asia, you're very close to China. For you, it's definitely would make sense to take a look on solutions coming from Asia, because you can have a better, you know, like service support and direct communication, maybe go to their factory to see how things are going. Most of these solutions, why they're on the market, because they pass a certain process of certification. And it could be like European certification, it could be even FDA Biologic, which was cleared by FDA. It is interesting that many are coming with the scanner, with their own brand scanner, which is shown in this column. And once again, this is interesting, this is basically the approach of the Asian companies. If not, the own scanner is a part of the package to sell to you. This is the list of supporting scanners, and it definitely could be growing. And what is important here as well is that, you know, we have a two competing approach, right? For example, in Japan, most of laboratories use TruePath across the whole countries. But in different countries, it could be PinPrep. And it is also important to understand that different tools, they may not work with all the preparation techniques. And please don't make this mistake, and please check this carefully before purchasing the device. And also another interesting thing that this is what I learned also from the cervical cytology, digital cervical cytology. That actually a bunch of devices, they prefer working on 20x. Because once again, it's going to probably to the topic of simplicity of the cervical cytology compared to, let's say, to some FNA cytology and so on. And when you're dealing with 20x, you can scan faster. It can take less memory. It can take less memory in your archive. It makes things much more easier. Basically, how the interface is looking, I would say most of them are similar, even irrespective of the brand or the application. You have two screens. One screen is represented by the image gallery or image library, where the most representative diagnostic cells are combined and once again shown you as a library. And on the next screen, you have an overview with the high power, which is once again, getting back to the slide, when we have a human and we have AI looking at the same screen or at the same cell, because finally it's you are responsible for making diagnosis. AI just bringing you those cells. It's saving the time of the screening throughout the entire slide. Bringing you diagnostic cells, and now is your responsibility to say, okay, I agree with this diagnosis. Let's go with ICU. let's go with, squamous cell carcinoma, and so on. This is where the real value and benefit of the AI in cervical cytology is saving your time, and it can work on a scale with thousands of cases. Conceptually, I would say, once again, if we go back to the market, to the commercial solutions, they could be they could be sold as end-to-end, or I heard from Chinese vendors, they use the term box solution. When in one box you buy everything, literally, from tubes for sampling and centrifuge, and also preparation could be there on, and then scanner, and then AI tool. This is all is coming in a single box. Or we can say it's end-to-end, from the very beginning to the very end. Then everything is coming off one brand. Everything is much standardized, but you have less flexibility. Maybe you already have your own scanner. Maybe you are dealing with different preparation methods. Or maybe you deal with a network of laboratories, and that's why there is a huge variability of all these items. Another option is when you have AI tool from one vendor, and scanner could be from the same vendor, but it could be dealing with different preparation methods, right? And ultimately, the most kind of open solution when you have different components coming from different vendors. So all of them have their pro and con, but I'm just keeping you aware about how the things are solved. I will highlight just like two solutions, let's say, two algorithms or two companies, because as you saw, the number is 10, or definitely more than 10, but as we are academic people, we try to look at those companies who are not just selling and explaining you, look, this one is good, it is working well, it is very high accuracy. But I want to see something which actually went to the academic journal with peer-reviewed publications, and with a good statistics behind it. So one of them is here, definitely on the top, is cytology, which is definitely has a long history and have own approach, which is called volumetric scanning, and you can learn more about that from their representatives. And it's producing, it is cleared in America by FDA, it's definitely cleared in Europe by CC marking. It works with ThinkPrep because, yeah, this is hologic by definition. And one of the publications highlighted here show very high accuracy or performance. And also, once again, it showed very much time savings compared if you do that story manually. Another one is coming from China. And also it's something similar, it's end-to-end solution. It is AI-assisted screening. They do on 20x, so it's very quick. Since this is end-to-end or box, it's coming with everything from this company, including the scanner, including the tube, including the AI tool. I think it's probably even similar to, once again, what we could see today from the presentation during the luncheon seminar. And they continuously publish about their approach. And it's interesting that their first publication was about almost 1 million cases. That's crazy. For example, this one came from Hologic, was published in a good journal, but the number of specimens here is 550, something like that. But publications coming from these companies, like 100,000, it's 1 million. I think the latest one, at least I saw that presentation, maybe it's not published yet, but now they scan more than 10 million specimens. And they collect all this information, and performance is very high. And of course, it's continued, it's continuous process of learning and ramification of the app itself. So they are dealing with crazy numbers. And this is just one Chinese company. And they are basically working on provincial level. Because another province, they have similar company, and they work in this province. This is something really immense. What is a way to use this AI tool for pap smears? cervical cytology, where you can implement, at which step it can help you in your laboratory workflow. This way, I don't think it's of much practical value. I mean, you can do this if you deal on the large scale. Basically, it's a secondary. When you already have the case diagnosed, and then you use AI tool for the double check what it happened. The more important is to use AI either along with cytotechnician in parallel, or by outsourcing maybe 50% here, 50% here. Or another way when you once again use this for primary reading by AI, and then results are delivered to cytopathologists, and cytopathologists say, yes, I agree here, or I don't agree here. And as you saw from the publication, the rate of concordance is very high. One of the last slides I would like to highlight, but just give you a sense that there is a recent publication coming from the American Society of Cytopathology. They have a digital cytology task force, also driven by people from Ohio State University. Professor Zaiboli is there, probably he was a senior author for this series. And they actually try to summarize the basic concept about digital cytology and AI in cytology, not only related to the cervical cytology, but actually a major part of this publication, of this white paper, is about cervical cytology. And they also provided some important information on how to do validation. For example, if you purchase tool, can you plug in this immediately and start using it? No, of course you need to do sort of validation to prove that it doesn't produce error in your particular settings. So I just bring the title of this publication. You can do some screenshot or take the picture, and if you want to dive into details, I think it's going to be one of the key references for you. Another slide, also very brief, to highlight the publication more of like health economics. It's a cost efficiency of cervical cancer screening strategies. And to show up what is the value of AI here. So, you know, this is quality adjusted light here, shown here on the scale. And of course, we want this from the public health perspective to be the highest possible. At the same time, we have the incremental cost. And of course, what we are talking here is about the screening for the cervical cancer. And it looks like there is always a competition between molecular testing and now AI. With molecular testing, it's produced very good improvement in the quality of life, right? I mean, of course, this is quality adjusted life per year, which could be measured. But it's coming with the very high cost. And it seems that cost could be cut significantly with the use of AI tools. And I think this is very important, especially in the setting of the low and middle income countries, and low-income countries and low-middle income countries, to prove that use of AI could be very helpful for you. Not specifically on the hospital level, but on the national level. So if you have some opportunity to share this information, you know, with the public health authority in your country, I think this could be very helpful for you. And there are actually a bunch of strategic initiatives for cervical cytology screening in all middle-income countries. And China is paving the way here. As I already I show you several proofs at the previous slides. I would say that I gave you an example that one of the companies which I highlighted, they were making a huge amount of cases on the provincial level. But they are working on a single province mainly because other provinces, they have own tools. And as per my knowledge, I did certain research that there are more than 15 local providers. And for example, once again, the one showing today during the lunch break, I never heard about the company, but seems like they have scanner, small scale, and also high throughput scanner, and they also have AI tools. Maybe all of them, they are like generic devices, who knows, but they are definitely leading a way for the digital psychology. India also has several commercial products. they're a little bit behind, but I think they also have a similar sense of developing in that direction. And some other countries highlighted here. So just have a couple more slides about regulatory and ethical consideration, which we definitely need to keep in mind, whether we are talking about using these tools in our lab, or you want to use this on the regional level, or you want to use this on the national level. And the key considerations are definitely about clinical validation and continuous monitoring of AI performance, transparency in algorithm development, compliance with major guidelines of delimitation data, addressing algorithmic bias by training on diverse data sets, especially if you're developing a tool by yourself, informed consent and explainability for patients. And I just drove here the screenshot of the result of the cervical cytology screening. Once again, this is some Chinese company which is coming automatically on the smartphone of the patient after AI has finished the evaluation, and then pathologist made a diagnosis. So and then it's coming directly to the patient on the smartphone, and then patient know that maybe need to visit hospital or maybe like no worry from it at all. From ethical issues here, I think there's more about like a developmental things. Limitation challenges. Definitely we have still technical limitations related to digital cytology, as I said from the very beginning, at the very beginning of the lecture. So far, most of the tools they are dealing, and more actually AI were trained on LBC, and there is a limited support for conventional pap smears. There is a need for advanced scanning systems still to increase the accuracy and yield. Enhance the resolution for detecting fine cellular defects. There are also adoption and implementation challenges, like diverse healthcare system requires tailored solutions, like what could be, well adopted in America, and here could be completely different story. There is a requirement for the rigorous regulatory pathways, similar to high standards of FDA in the US. We are facing the lack of standardized solution and reference data for performance comparison at the moment, but definitely this data is accumulated, and this is our responsibility as well to continue providing this information for you to summarize, to publish, and make review publications and so on. And there is a continuous AI training to adapt to evolving clinical scenarios. And also, we have a data and validation issues, such as limited clinical practice data and published studies for AI learning algorithms. And there are challenges in collecting comprehensive and representative data set, which could be available for you if you have a strong AI team. You want to build your own tool, but you have no access to the data from different countries. Finally, came to conclusions. I'm not taking time, sorry. So, AI tackles long-standing challenges in pathology and cytology routine, such as low diagnostic yields, heavy caseload, and observer variation. Cervical cytology screening is the most promising AI application in cytology, which is proven in multiple tools and in publications as well. There is a growing number of commercial tools, and I believe it will be increasing. AI solutions streamline diagnostic workflow, reduce turnaround time, but still require rigorous validation, strategic integration, and adherence to regulatory and ethical guidelines. And there is a huge potential to significantly reduce the burden of cervical cancer worldwide, especially in low-income and low-middle-income countries. So with that, I have one more surprising slide for you. We didn't synchronize that, but it's here. So I think at our next congress in Mumbai, I already had a call from India because I visited India conference of cytopathology a month ago and gave a talk about digital cytology. And many people, they requested to bring the special session about digital cytology when we had this conference in Mumbai. So stay tuned about that. And if you're a member, you already just, with your membership fee, you're having more discount for for the on-site. And we also actually reactivating webinars which you are, well, joined properly. With that, I'd like to conclude. Thank you very much.
Any questions from the audience? Yes.
Thank you so much for your very nice presentation. And I have two questions for you. Okay, the first one is, I think, how do you, in Japan, is there any application of the AI screening solution in Japan? Because I know that there is the cytologist who is the screening resource in Japan. So how do you think about that? And which one is better, or the AI screening solution, can it replace the cytologist? And my second question is, I know that now in some countries, the government use the HPV test for the primary screening for cervical cancer. So how do you think about which one is better, the AI added solution for in pathology, or the HPV test? Which one do you think is better? Thank you. And one more question for Professor Andrey. I'm curious about USA, because I didn't hear you mention about the cytology digitalization in USA. So how about the cytology digitalization in USA, and do you use the AI screening solution in your lab? Thank you.
Yeah, so a handful of labs are using AI screening using for cervical cancer. In our lab, we are using 2 or 3 different scanners right now and testing it and validating it. Many labs are considering it. They have the same challenges: the cost, the storage, the Z stacking adds to the cost, and just overall experience. But it's very similar to what Andrey has shown. In our lab, we're doing a large study with KF Bio and Hamamatsu, and we're going to be hopefully choosing one of those 2 systems in 2025.
Japan. Okay. So yeah, there is a need for sure. And actually, I didn't show up. There is one Japanese company which is also developed. Well, they have marketed already their own solution. So they produce their own scanner for cytology scanning, which is using like original approach and so on. And they try to now sell it in Japan. They frequently bring it to international conferences. I guess they are not here, but they are coming to our congress and showing our device. And it's a small one. They are making it on a very low scale, and probably we will have very soon the opportunity to test in our lab as well. But this is just one lab, right? It's not the country level. And regarding the other laboratories, like there is a sense of having like device approved by the Japanese FDA before purchasing it to your own lab, right? But most of the solutions, I think they are trying to sell in Japan. Just there is, at the moment, there is no one, there should be ice breaking. There should be one lab which tries to use something and to show up, like, look, this worked very well. Everyone needs to do it. This is one piece of the story. Another piece which you exactly emphasize. There are a lot of parts during the GYM cytology process that is done by technicians, right? Side effects. And this is something special in Japan. Like, for example, we have a Japanese Society of Pathology with 4,000 members. It's quite huge. And we have a Japanese Society of Psychology, and the number of members is about 10,000. Wow. This is something unique, because many people, actually I think in Korea maybe something similar, because you have a strong cytopathology community. They're smaller, but in Japan is something special. And these are people who, why there are so many people? Because, yes, they are trained very hard to do this very precise, you know, in very Japanese style, going, not missing any single cells. I think now it's coming to question, yes, if they have some magic AI tool, how happy they will be with that. Because from the one hand, they're spending a lot of time for going through the slide, to making annotation, noting for pathologists. But if everything is taken by AI, you know, what to do with 10,000 side effects. But either way, this is coming back to your next question. Like, what is molecular versus AI? And I think actually this is what I aim to show up here. Maybe I didn't explain it properly, but this is already kind of, you know, like a prediction or calculation from the public health perspective. How much is going to be, and you see, you approach almost the same very good result with the quality adjusted life years with AI, almost the same as with molecular testing, but at completely different cost. So this is very cost efficient. But the baseline here is, as I mentioned already several times, Japan, or let's say here, just one laboratory. I don't think it will bring much efficiency like that if you do this just in your own lab. I think what is doing China right now, they have a program on the provincial level. And then you have 10, 20,000 cases every day coming through the lab. Then it's efficient from the economic point of view. If you do it in one lab, it is good to highlight your lab. But if your lab having high lot of cases, maybe like a network of laboratories, then it's going to work. And then you can upscale to the provincial, to the national level. You can bring these results along with your results and with some, you know, whatever companies you're supporting, bring to your people on the high level and to show, look, we need to upscale this. Then it's going to work. Whatever, or if you are not doing like that, then people who are, you know, pushed by molecular companies, they will bring molecular tests and they say, let's buy this for the entire country. So this is the kind of lobby which we need to push for digital tools.
I have a question. Go ahead.
I think we're out of time. So we'll have some chances on the side to ask questions. But thank you, Dr. Bychkov, wonderful presentation. And I think this illustrates